Good afternoon, everyone. It's my first podcast here with President Colistra, or Mr. Colistra. What do you like to go by? President or Mr.?
Mr. Colistra, yeah.
Mr. Colistra's better.
Yeah.
All right, and I was just wondering, Mr. Colistra, I don't know if you're an Eagles fan or not, but I know you're from the great city of brotherly love in Philadelphia.
Yep.
You know, my condolences for the Eagles. You know,
Yeah.
Whoever gets in the way of TB12 sometimes in the playoffs, it doesn't always go their way.
It was over quick.
It was over quick, but I just want to get to know. I mean, you've only been a president here at St. X for 2 years. You know, the Philadelphia is known for having the great cheesesteak. Louisville, the great hot brown. I was wondering, what kind of cuisine have you found in Louisville that you've kind of enjoyed eating?
Well, I had a hot brown.
Okay.
That's the first meal I had upon visiting almost 2 years ago now. Very filling.
Very filling. It's
very
big,
filling.
yeah.
On the right night, that's the right meal. But you know, we've had some good restaurants. Volare is a favorite, an Italian favorite. Be there Thursday night, actually. Spent Christmas Eve there. So
Okay.
I find it to be a pretty good restaurant city. I think there are, a couple good pockets of restaurants, but not many sandwiches. So, you know, Philly's a sandwich and pizza kind of
Definitely.
place, and the quick hits are hard to find.
Louisville's definitely a foodie city for sure. They got a lot of good restaurants.
I agree.
Mr. Colistra, I know you like playing golf in your free time. You have 2 kids, Ryan and Luca. Ryan is 12 now, or is
No.
10?
Ryan's, Ryan's threw me off here. Ryan's 8. He'll be 9 in February.
okay?
Yeah.
And how old's Luca?
Well, wait. Let me get that right here. He is 9 now. He'll be 10 in February.
Okay, I knew he was around.
Yeah.
10.
Well, you said 12. That's a year away from teenager.
I don't know if you want to think about that just yet.
No. Especially not Luca. Luca is in 2nd grade, and she's 8.
Okay.
She turned 8 in right around Christmas.
Well, if you ever need a babysitter, you know,
Don't call you.
But no, you mean you could call. I mean, up to you.
We do need babysitters, but we've got a stable. I think you're safe. Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, at least Philly. I mean, the Eagles didn't do that good, but at least you guys will always have Rocky. You always have the boxer from one mysterious boxer to another.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
You know.
Rocky Balboa.
Yes, sir.
Big statue of him, and you know, it's it's a good city.
Well, like I said, Mr. Colistra, this is my first time, you know, doing the podcast. I want to start kind of a new segment with these podcasts, and some name dropping, just some people around St. X that have been making an impact, whether it's in the athletics, whether it's academics, just maybe some names you've noticed that have been doing good in the St. X community.
Well, yeah. Look, you know, I mean, we could start with Saturday by Mekhi Smith putting 39 points on the board, and you did a fantastic job announcing that game.
Thank you.
Hopefully, there's more of that to come. That was an impressive performance. You know, I think to do that in front of a full audience in a meaningful spot. He had the ball in his hands a lot and was challenged a lot, and he responded. He grabbed some rebounds at some really important times. So, you know, going back to the fall seasons, obviously Jack Savory was Jack put up big time performance at key moments. You know, they just happened to be the point guard and the quarterback. I know there's plenty of other guys on both those teams that. But yeah, you know, look, I get to as many events as I can. My job's to be a cheerleader for our guys, for our school. You know, I love when our guys stand up and kind of stand out. You know, when I see guys participating at school liturgies, for example, and get in front of a microphone in front of their peers of 1,150, 1,200 boys, and they're able to deliver something meaningful. The guys that do music in front of the crowd. You know, all the way down to the guys that I see in Mass on Friday mornings. I mean, to get 15 to 18 to 20 young guys to get up and get to Mass on a Friday morning, you know, that says a lot to me. So, you know, I know you want me to name drop, and I dropped 2, but you know, the main message is that You know, like I'll give you an example. My son's going to go to summer camp this year, and I'm trying to get him to understand he's got 3.5 weeks of sleepover camp, and I want him to do everything that camp has to offer, right? So getting out of your comfort zone. He's an athlete, right? But they climb mountains, they canoe, they kayak, there's a theater. Like I want him to do all of that. You know, that to me is taking advantage of opportunities at a young age to figure out what you're all about, right? So I just love when our guys are on display in a public moment, and they handle their business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about what you said about the opportunity stuff. I think St. X has so many different opportunities of where you might find yourself. I feel like you can really get to know yourself and just the amount of opportunities St. X has to offer.
Yeah.
So what you said about getting involved, I know that's a huge part for up-and-coming freshmen and sophomores about, you know, where do I exactly fit in and all this kind of St. X stuff. And
well, yeah, it's like, you know, like guys that want to play college athletics or they have a plan that they want to do something, and if that plan doesn't work, you know, you're going to fall back to what you can do, right? What can I can't do this. That's what I planned for. Well, okay, well now what? And if you don't have some things that you're comfortable and good at doing, you know, you can fall down easily and not get back up. So, you know, I was not necessarily that guy. You know, I played my share of sports, but if I could go back, you know, I would join a club that I knew nothing about. I would, you know, maybe get involved in theater and do something outside of the sports world. You know, that goes for college, kind of college guidance too. Like a lot of you guys are, you know, I feel in many ways default to UK U of L. I hear like this lack of excitement around those ideas. Maybe because they've been in your head for so long and staying in state. And I think you want to go out of state, but it's like, well, where else do we look?
Yeah.
You know, like even if you're not going to go to that school, like go through the exercise of digging into it, of understanding it. For nothing else, like now at least you know about that school. You know,
100%.
So kind of expanding horizons and you know, I think St. X gives you an opportunity to be really good at a lot of different things. We don't necessarily want to fit everybody into one mold. So for you to go 4 years and not have a moment where you had to stand up and stand out and deliver, you know, it's better to have one of those moments for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. I think getting outside of your comfort zone and kind of doing some things where you're not as comfortable as doing it, then that's just going to make bigger strides for you as a person. And like you said, just kind of expand your horizons.
Yeah. You
talked a little bit about high school. What was your high school experience? Kind of your fondest memories? Maybe some sports you played.
Yeah. So you know, as I've said to a lot of the seniors I've had lunch with, I went to a school just like St. X. It was 1,100 boys, LaSalle College High School. So it was Christian Brothers, not Zavarian Brothers, but they're very much alike in the way they run schools, and they are. Big alumni network, great campus. My father was a lifelong teacher and alum there. My brother was an alum, so I was kind of third generation, if you will. And you know, I played football for my dad. My dad was my head football coach, which was a great experience. Could have went a lot of different ways, but it was phenomenal. He was an AP economics teacher. So as Faith would allow, I didn't have the grades to get into AP economics, so he could not teach me in the classroom. It was like the hardest, it was known to be like the hardest class in the school. So it was probably...
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm not in APs either, but, you know.
Look,
everyone's got their strengths with it.
That's right. That's right. If I could go back, I'd have fought to get back in that class. But you know, so my high school experience was very much like it is around here. You know, I had great coaches, I had great teachers, I had people that cared about me. I had a great facility to spend 4 years. I had great friends that are today best friends that, you know, we're raising kids together and we're in each other's marriages and weddings, I should say. So it's, you know, it was a great experience.
I think it's interesting that you came to St. X and it's led by Zavarian Brothers, and you said your high school was led by Christian Brothers, and that your dad was an alumni. You know, your brothers had went there, you said, too. I just wanted to ask, like, how was your kind of experience joining the St. X community, and how were you kind of welcomed? Because sometimes it was kind of, it's like, high school's such a big deal here, right? I'm not from here either. And when you come here, like, everyone's asking my dad, like, hey, where'd you go to school? He's like, oh, I went to, Florida State. He's like, oh, no, I'm talking about high school. Like, they everything's about high school here.
It is.
So how was your kind of experience?
Yeah, Philly's like that too. So Philly is we've got NFL sports, we've got, big time college sports, more so basketball than football. But, when you ask someone where they're from in Philly, it's the same question. It's high school. Right?
Really?
So I think it's a Catholic thing.
I guess
a Catholic school thing. And I think, so that wasn't strange to me. And so I was comfortable with that. But yeah, make no mistake, Louisville is a high school driven city. And, St. X, I think, I was prepared for a lot of what I am now seeing here at the school, right? You can't prepare for the pandemic. You can't prepare to be shut down socially for at least a year.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So there's you don't prepare to move a young family, 800 miles away and all that, right? So there's a lot of things that I could not have prepared for, but as it relates to St. X, I was in pretty good shape. I grew up and worked in schools like this, and always have felt comfortable in environments like this, around guys like you. And the one thing is just St. X is so big, it's so important, it's so meaningful in the city. I mean, you can't find many high schools in the country, literally in the country, that are as important to a city as St. X is. It's been here as long as anyone. It has graduated hundreds and hundreds of kids a year for 150 plus years. A lot of those guys now run, major businesses in the city and politics. So yeah, I would say the one thing that was probably the most challenging and has proven to be the most challenging is just getting used to that kind of spotlight of, being a student at one of the most important schools in the city, but for me, being the president of a really important institution in the city.
You just got to carry yourself a little bit differently, for sure.
Well, yeah, you do, and I try to talk to you guys about that a lot. The way that you represent yourselves and your family is the same way you represent the school, right? So the last thing I ever want to hear or see is guys walking up Poplar Level in all their St. X gear and going to the Panera and getting in trouble, right? That's a terrible look for the school, for those guys. I always want our guys to, like my college football coach used to say after games that night, if you're not ready to represent Ithaca College, my college, downtown tonight, well then don't wear an Ithaca College shirt. Don't wear blue and white. Those are our colors, right? Because the minute you put green and gold on, you represent St. X. Yeah, so... but I would say for me, though, it's also, you got to be yourself, right? I'm a young guy with a young family, and yes, I've got the role that I've got, but, I still got to get up on Saturday morning and take my son to soccer practice and stand on the field with the dads. So there's still an element that you got to be yourself and have fun. But, yeah, definitely in Louisville, when you put green and gold on, it matters.
Definitely. Yeah, so I kind of relate to you in a way because I'm not from here either. I'm actually from Florida, moved here in about 4th grade.
Yeah.
And when I was faced with, the high school decision, kind of came down to Trinity and St. X, I was actually leaning Trinity in 7th grade, and then 8th grade I got a really good shadow, and I was like, St. X is just the place for me.
St. X saved you?
I just felt right. It definitely.
You got saved?
Yeah, and it just felt a little bit different. Almost kind of you get the feel when you go to a college and you're like, I could really, really see myself here.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I want to touch on was the first kind of 3 years of my high school career. You talked about maybe getting out of your comfort zone and just kind of doing all the opportunities you possibly can. I didn't really get involved in the amount of stuff I was in until senior year. I kind of started getting into Riken, kind of getting into the broadcasting stuff, the Xavier News, SAC, kind of stuff like that. And I feel like I've just really prospered, and I really just enjoy doing all the stuff I've been doing. And I feel like that's just such a big key with the young guys at St. X, not kind of waiting until junior or senior year or not getting involved at all. If you can, freshman, sophomore year, get really involved at St. X and see what you like doing, I think you're just going to set up for an awesome 4 years at St. X.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I think, you know, I get it. You get to high school and you're used to your life and your after school life being what it is or what it was. And, you know, and sometimes it's different, right? And guys take time to adjust and think about, they've been playing basketball for 8 years and I didn't make the basketball team, now what? So rather than doing something, they'll do nothing. And you know, I think one of the worst things that we can have is, you know, a lot of guys every day that clock out at 8th period and go home.
100%.
You know, I will say that, you know, this school, in many ways, is driven by that after-school activity. I mean, we know what school is, right? But when you watch this place from, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock at night, I mean, there's some really good things happening. And there's as much or more development happening amongst the guys in those hours than there is many times during a school day. So, yeah, you know, I get it. Guys don't want to stand out and be cool. If they're an athlete, they're going to be sluggish to join a club or an activity because they're not used to it. And maybe vice versa. So, but, you know, like anything else, you know, you take that leap and you get involved and you're like, oh, this is great. You know, I wish I would have done this before. And the other thing I'll say that it's important too is that it really drives our programming. I mean, if a bunch of guys get hot around some activity or club or group like this sports broadcasting, I mean, this can really take off and become, you know, guys could potentially come to school at St. X because they watched
Because they want to do the broadcast.
They want to do it, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's colleges that are designed around, you know, that programming, and a lot of them go out and work in businesses that are in that field. So, yeah, it's again, there's a different approach to, you know, grabbing a bag of Doritos and doing some club as opposed to this could be my life's work. This could be my track. I wouldn't expect every young guy to know that, but if you approach it with that seriousness and try to learn all the different aspects of it, like I said before, at the least you know what that's all about. You know, whether that's for you or not, it doesn't matter. But at least you've been through and have that kind of in your background. So, you know, if it were up to me, we might institute, you've got to do something, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How do you get those guys to take the leap? Because I feel like once you take the leap, it's over, yeah. It's over.
Well, a lot of guys work, so you want to be sensitive to that, and I get that. I love that, you know. There's a lot of value in that, too. You know, a lot of guys work at Kroger, and they always complain about it, but it's like, well, look, you know, I guarantee in 20 years there's going to be something that you got out of that experience that shaped who you are, as subtle as you think it may be. So yeah, so there is that, and there's guys that got family situations that they need to get home to, and transportation issues. So I don't want to be insensitive to those issues, but you know, I would ask all of our young guys, old guys, if you're going home each day and kind of just wasting time, like, you should think about that. I mean, that's, you know, if you plan to go to college with that strategy, that's going to be tough. Because the first day of college, when you've got 6 open hours, and you don't know really, you're not told what to do, if you're not used to making most of your time, it's going to be a real challenge. So, yeah, I mean, if there's not a club, if there's a club that we don't have, let's get it going. And yeah, that's what I tell my son. That's what I tell our students. Get involved.
Definitely. So, Mr. Colistra, you kind of came into St. X, and it was already one of the most thriving high schools in all of the nation, one of the top prep schools. We kind of talked about it a little bit at my senior luncheon, just kind of your plans for the next 5 years. And I was like, you were kind of going over your plans. I was like, geez, I wish I could stay here a few extra years. So if you just maybe go into some of your plans, we're really touching on the athletic side. I know a lot of future Tigers out there and rising freshmen are listening. I was just kind of seeing what you had for the.
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, anytime you take an older legacy school like St. X and turn it into, turn the leadership over and to myself, someone younger, and Miss Sample, and there's a board of directors that really guides and runs the institution, and there's a lot of kind of new energy on that board. Amongst our faculty and staff and coaches, students, there's a new kind of momentum, and so there's kind of a new, fresh energy in the building. Usually you want to capitalize on that, right? And say, okay, where do we want to go? So I don't have plans. I don't have plans to, flip this whole thing on its head. So I don't think we'll be going co-ed anytime soon. I don't think we're going to dramatically change the way we do business and educate. But like, any good old sports car, you lift the hood up, there's work to be done. So, like you said, I think we're one of the finest secondary institutions in the country. I don't think you're going to find 20 better Catholic high schools, all boys high schools. So, my job is to make sure you look at the 19 others, and if we're not able to offer something that, is benchmark alongside them, then we've got to figure that out here. Because again, if we're going to say we're a national school of excellence and that we're a major player in Louisville and the state and the country, then we have to offer facilities and programming that matches that. So I think over the next couple of years you're going to see some transformations in our classrooms and in our educational areas. Our classrooms over here, for example, are state of the art. Well, then you go into the 61 building, and there's tennis balls on the bottom of desks. So we've got to innovate inside the classroom. Athletically, we've got a great program, and I want to continue to push our programming up to the highest level each program can get to. So. The football team just won a state championship, and that was a big deal, and we'll continue to push to that level. And but at the same time, who's our lacrosse team playing? Who's our soccer team playing? Look at what swimming's done. How do you provide that level of excellence in every individual department? That's my job. That's what I think about. What does this program need to reach the level of excellence that I think I know St. X has. So athletically, we've got some facility work that we've got to do. We have a great facility in general, but, like anything else, we've got to, what's old and hasn't been addressed in some time, and let's address that. So I won't share too much around that, but you'll see some new athletic facilities in due time. So I would say that my strategy around my leadership style and what we're going to see the next few years at St. X is what I'll call continuous improvement. So what I don't want to do is just put some sort of project on the paper and say, okay, let's build up, let's get that done, and then we're done. I want to put 20 things out and have people conversate and prioritize what do we think we want to do here. And, if we get 3 or 4 or 5 done, great. And then we start moving, to the other ones. So it's not a stagnant organization, but more so of a dynamic organization. I mean, I think right now, the educational market is pretty intense. I mean, you put 5 guys in a room, 8th graders, you could get 1 going to each school in Louisville, Where back in the day, St. X might have had more of a share. So we've got to work hard to keep our share. I mean, there's great schools in the city, and there's great competition in the city, and my job is to make sure the organization is inspired to keep growing and getting better, and essentially getting our share of the market of students.
Definitely, I think just becoming kind of stagnant and knowing that St. X is such a great school, it's not good enough. You got to just keep pushing and keep getting all the opportunities out there to the young guys. And yeah, I think your plans for the athletics, that's just something that some of the young guys just love to hear, because
yeah, we're going to build. We're going to build academically. We're going to build athletically. The facility in some ways is going to shift. I mean, obviously, we just introduced a brand new building out here in Valley Center and
awesome.
the CMC, and we've got the brothers have moved off campus, so the Riken House is now the schools. So we've got to sort through what we want to do with that. So yeah, we've got some original facilities around here that haven't been touched since they were original. So we've got to update those, and so there's no shortage of, just because we are, as highly respected as we are, and we're as good as we are, doesn't mean stop. To me that means probably even more so press. Again, the educational market is such that, they're running at us. And if we stop, if we just like what we have and move forward, then we're caught up to. So hopefully over the next few years, we're going to make enough investment and energy behind it to kind of run away from some of these competing schools.
Definitely. I think as a student and just going past St. X, I think St. X is always going to be with you for the rest of your life, and then just to see it keep prospering and growing, and you just love to see that for the younger, and
yeah,
St. X is growing so many things. So, Mr. Colistra, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to come meet with me for the podcast.
Yeah.
Hope you guys feel inspired, learn some things out there. And this is my first time doing this.
Yeah, well done, man. It's great.
Gonna get back at it.
Who's next?
I've got a few ideas. I don't want to spoil it just yet, but I got a few ideas of who I want to do. And yeah, this has been the Presidential Podcast with Mr. Colistra. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.